New York has always seemed to me to be the one place where I had the anonymity to sort of become myself. I don't know if it makes sense, but it's like you can do whatever you want here and nobody's really looking that hard at you. It's not like there's not a sense that you have to conform to any one thing. There's so many different things going on here that I think it was a chance for me to really get out and test myself and find my limits and figure out who I was in an atmosphere that would basically not edit me and not censor me. I mean, more than anywhere else in the country, anyway, that I know of. And it's also sustained me through a lot of career changes and a lot of evolution as a person. I've always found that I could pretty much find whatever I needed here in order to sustain me in the different stages of my life. I started drawing models when I was in high school. I lived in a town in Claremont, California, where there was an art college right nearby, and on Saturdays I used to go over and do a figure drawing workshop over there. So that's when I started drawing figure, and I think I've always felt a real affinity with the human form, as though it connects back to so much stuff in Western art, and it also always seemed like a container for a lot of like so much is contained inside of it. There's like a lot of meaning, and I'm really compelled by the beauty of it too. I think the human form is very beautiful, and it's challenging to render it in a way that seems like lifelike. I've always felt like that. I went to the Louvre and I saw the Winged Victory of Samothrace. I think that's how you pronounce it, I'm not sure. But it was just, it's such a beautiful form, and I had worked myself with the Winged Woman form as a teenager even. And when I saw it, it just was really compelling, and I drew a few drawings of it. When I got back from Paris, I was in my studio and I was looking through my sketch pad and saw these drawings, and suddenly the painting that I felt like I'd been sort of looking for kind of emerged out of that. And since then it's become a subject that I've worked with in both painting and sculpture. That imagery, the sculpture that I did that has the Winged Victory at the top, and it's sort of on top of this pile of garbage that's made out of images of women, available images of women in porno magazines and fashion magazines, which, as far as I'm concerned, are very closely connected. Another thing that drew me to the Nike was that I felt like, you know, there were a lot of images of women in ancient Greece, where the Winged Victory comes from, where a lot of Western art is sort of influenced by. But the only image that's really translated down into this society now is various versions of Aphrodite, you know, or Venus, this sort of sexual aspect of woman, the beauty aspect of woman. And I feel like that's a real limited repertoire. I mean, when you consider all the different, you know, goddesses that exist and that people used to worship, to have only one image, you know, available to women at this time and to girls growing up is really a sad thing, and I think it's really destructive.
The street, when I first came here, I was very delicate, sensitive. The street, the honking horns, the taxis, the buses, the air horns of the trucks, the movements, I could say the knives, I could say the needles. One gets nervous out there. Conversation, people like something, they don't like something, but things pass through the mind stream faster. And they pass in ways that sometimes aren't spoken. They pass through glances. There's a language out here. The street has now become the new jungle. It's like the artificing of nature, man-made street or signs or buses. Even the trees here are our only freedom. Incidentally, I hope they do plant in the future more trees in this city. It'll make a better wind current and wind passages through the city, and it'll cool it down. Seriously, you know that idea in evolution. But the street is not only the jungle, A good example is some of my earlier work was very genteelly poetic. Here is a piece. Here is a piece that is almost what one could call maybe impressionistic. That's an earlier delicate piece. Here's a later piece here, and I don't know when and if you can get to it, but here is a piece where the human being finally arrives at, which, I'll put this piece here. The intensity, maybe, of kind of like a child coloring with crayons. But when I do a human being, and even if I do a human being in here and not in the park, or not sitting out on the edge of a car, one doesn't lose the energy of the street. One is like energized by the freedom. The idea was, in Oklahoma, everything was boringly too much of nature.